Braxton Miller is loose. Spin move. Miller
in the end zone. Oh, what a catch!
And he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
It's Ohio State together at the mountaintop. Champions of college football.
The Ohio State of Mind podcast, hosted by Josh Keelan and Chris Reynolds.
Your number one stop for all Buckeye football news.
Oh, what's in the box?
A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat.
This is such a crock of shit. Hoo-ah!
The Ohio State of Mind podcast. Turn it up.
And welcome back to another edition of the Ohio State of Mind podcast. I'm Chris. To my right, as always, Josh Keatley. Like I said, Josh, if you look up in the top left corner, we have been live now for 15 hours. How have we done it?
I'm exhausted. No bathroom breaks either, baby.
No, I run a tight ship around here. It's been a while since you and I have convened. It is Thursday, 5 p.m. for you on the East Coast.
Yep.
It is Friday, 5 a.m. for me. I am out of the country. I'm somewhere in Asia. And Josh, let me tell you, all popular food chains, when they die in the U.S., they thrive over here in the Asias.
Really?
Let me tell you, every corner, there's a Shakey's Pizza. I have seen no less than 5 Kenny Rogers roasters.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Good for him, bro. Good for him.
He's even after death, he's still thriving in Asia.
Dude, the hell yeah, bro. The hell yeah, man.
Yeah, it's wild to see these here. I was like, there's no way. And not only are they here, but they are packed to the gills. There's people standing outside for Kenny Rogers roasters, my friend.
Like wait in line when it opens up.
Right? They need their fried chicken. But
I haven't heard Shakey's Pizza since that South Park episode.
Thank you.
He gathers up all the the stem cells.
Yes.
Shakey's Pizza twin.
Yes. That's the last I've heard of it as well. But dude, we're not just talking Shakey's Pizza on every corner. We're talking advertising. We're talking billboards. We're talking YouTube ads. People fucking love it. I had it.
Love it.
Meh. Very meh. It was like, it's kind of the similar texture of a Little Caesars, but if you could get it thin crust and flaky.
No. I like Little Caesars, dude. I'm all about the hot ready, bro.
I like Little Caesars as well, but I'm not going to go into a restaurant and sit and wait on it.
Oh, dude, that's every Friday night in Zanesville, baby, bro. just going in there, waiting in the fucking lobby, bro. You know what I mean?
Goodness.
Sipping on my 20-ounce of Mountain Dew right next to the Call of Duty life-size cardboard stand. Waiting on my ready, bro.
We're not going to turn this into a Little Caesars podcast, but let's give credit where credit is due. I love when Little Caesars comes out with some exclusive sodas, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who else has got that? Olive Garden doesn't.
No, dude. But when you're there, you are family. So that is,
It does feel nice. It's been quite a while since you and I have been together. We are going to try to move to Thursdays.
Yep.
We're getting back into the swing of thing. The season's right around the corner. Thursdays seem right. We can usher into the weekend. We get maybe some Big Ten football on Friday as well.
Yep.
If that's something you guys want to see more of, let us know in the comments. We greatly appreciate it. We got a little bit of Buckeye news here in the last week or so. We're going to get into that. You're gone. Where'd you go? There you are. All right. Little bit of Buckeye news. Big one. We're going to talk about this young man, I believe, here in a little bit, or was it last week that we talked about it? Damon Arnett. Damon Arnett reinstated in the NFL. He is now signed with the Houston Texans. Played in the CFL, if I'm not mistaken. Josh, who you play for?
Played in the UFL. Played for the Houston Roughnecks this past year. So it was actually him. I think Rashad Berry was on that team, who we're also going to talk about today. Yeah, he had a decent season. I'm kind of surprised that the Texans picked him up. I don't know if he was dominant, but that's a guy that was shutting dudes down. We know he has the talent, right? Former first-round pick.
Agreed.
Has always had a ton of swag. He's had some off-field issues, right? You mentioned that suspension. I think he was trying to be a rapper, right? Wasn't his rap name like NWG Swag or something? I'm literally trying to look. I could have sworn he was trying to become a rapper.
Yes, you are right.
Yes. NWG Swag.
Ooh, Suave.
There you go.
You're right. He wasn't selected in the first round in 2020. He was 19 overall for Las Vegas. He as a rookie played in 9 games, had 7 starts. A thumb injury that following October they placed him on the IR, and he spent some time on the reserve/COVID list. And then, of course, in 2021, his campaign was cut short due to a groin injury, and he was released in November once a video emerged of him. How do I want to church this up? Brandishing some firearms and making threats. We'll say that.
Yeah. No, dude, I don't know why the Texans signed him. I love Damon Arnett. I love all former Ohio State guys. I want to see them do well. I hope he does the most with this opportunity. This is a guy who's been kind of an idiot multiple times. I think that the UFL is probably the right place for him.
Yeah.
I'm glad the Browns didn't sign his ass. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I've got to ask though. Being the big Browns fan you are, what's the jersey that you're clamoring for this year amongst all these new draft picks, other than Quinshon Judkins if he pops out, huh?
Oh, bro. You've asked me this question before. You know me, dude. I go straight to the clearance rack, brother. Okay. So what do we? Who is the big stud? Well, some Baker Mayfield's probably $20 now. You know what I mean? Some Tim Couches. No, but if I was gonna get an Ohio State jersey, it'd obviously be Quinshon, right? That'd be a Cleveland Browns jersey, it'd obviously be Quinshon. That'd be sick. That would be, I think he's gonna be the dude. He's gonna be the lead back. He's gonna be a star up there. So that'd be cool. Get my hands on that.
I think all of us would like to hear that. With that being said, being a star, the younger brother of a star for the Ohio State Buckeyes, Jeremiah Smith, his younger brother Angelo, has received an offer to be a Buckeye in the future. He is a safety. He will be in the 2027 class.
Yeah.
He attended fall camp. Ohio State joins the list of a plethora of schools that have offered him already, include the Hurricanes, Oklahoma State, Akron, Georgia State, Toledo. Do we see a lot of upside in the future for this young man? I think we do. Is this a courtesy amongst stars? Maybe this keeps Jeremiah Smith in a Buckeye uniform for one extra year. What do you think?
No, I don't think that it's going to be like the Bosa brothers, where I think it's nice. He probably deserves it too. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched a ton of film on his little brother, but if he's anything close to him, he probably is a freak athlete. We saw before. Guys like Marcus Hooker, the younger brother of Malik Hooker. It's not uncommon, right? There's going to be something there. I think it's probably a good move, probably a smart move, trying to lock it down now, trying to get a commitment as early as possible. But would it be enough to keep him in Columbus? I don't think so. I mean, if he continues on this current trajectory, he's a top 5 pick.
Right.
There's not an amount of NIL money that's going to keep him in Columbus, I don't think.
No, I agree. And the same day they offered Angelo Smith, another sibling was offered as well. Brian Porter, younger brother of Quincy Porter, wide receiver.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In the 2027 class, he was given an offer as well, as he was a participant in the camp last week too. So hey, there's another brother that gets extended an offer. So that's cool to see. Why not?
Very cool.
A lot of people are saying they expected big things out of Quincy Porter. I'd like to see if he sees the field this year. Do you think he will?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to do that. We watched this film. We talked about his film. I like Quincy Porter. I think he's got like all-American potential, no doubt about it. I compared him to Michael Thomas, but this receiving room is so good. So good. It would not surprise me if he got a red shirt or, saw trash action, like 4 games or whatever.
I wholeheartedly agree. Also, Ohio State locks up a commit about, let's call it 4 hours ago, East Coast time. Yeah. Glenville, a tar blood or his own, Sincere Johnson. He is just committed to the Ohio State. The 4-star linebacker is committed today over Penn State and Alabama to the Buckeyes. We were talking earlier this year that we really, really love Arvell Reese. This team has had a lineage of successful Cleveland tar blooders on the roster that made, leaps, bounds, and strides. We had some win Heisman trophies, a plethora of first-round picks. But he is in the 2026 class, and I'm excited. Stud linebacker. We like these guys, these kids from Cleveland, Glenville. That they're brought up right. They're absolute dogs. Sincere Johnson, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. Now we're talking to somebody that I'm slightly familiar with. Again, I got to really dive in there. But this is a dude that every school in the country wanted. This is a guy that a lot of people think that has the potential to play immediately, and he might be able to do that. Cleveland Glenville kids, they do kind of get the benefit of the doubt. If someone's like, okay, they're probably going to get an offer. Not this kid. This kid is what he is. He is a star. He is a stud. He is going to be very, very good. I mean, I think he's a 4-star consensus right now. Yep. He might be a 5-star by the end of this whole recruiting cycle. That's how good he is. I'm a big fan of Sincere. What I know about him, I'm a big fan. But yeah, this was a big gift for Ohio State for sure.
No, without question. Like I said, he is in the 2026 class. He came to Columbus last year. He had over 16 recruitment offers from plethora of top schools in the country, and he's right now currently the number 71 overall prospect according to 24/7 Sports. But like you said, I do in fact anticipate to see that number rise.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Luke. I think his name is Waffle, but it's missing an L. Or missing an extra F. 4-star edge rusher Luke Waffle. He committed and flipped back here. Officially committed to USC earlier in the year. Now he has flipped and he has said he is going to be a Buckeye. He is the number 55 overall prospect, according to 24/7 Sports, in the 2026 class out of New Jersey. Do you know anything about this? Yeah.
No, I did not know anything. I'll have to do some research on him. Obviously, we're getting that 2026 class nice and tight. So, I want to be in the loop on that stuff. And unfortunately, that was one that slid right underneath my nose. Didn't even notice it.
Yeah, he is in the 2026 class. He's in there with Chris Henry Jr. and Blaine Bradford and Sid Johnson. This class is shaping up, and it's shaping up real quick, my friend.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a big class, dude. There's a lot of studs in this class. There's a lot of guys that I'm familiar with that, I don't watch everybody. I'm not super into recruiting like a lot of people. And, even I'm aware of a lot of these guys. There's a lot of talent to come in 2026. If everything stays the same, it might be the best class in the country.
I wholeheartedly agree. We're talking about classes. We're going to take a look back. We've done 2020, 19, 18, 17, 16. This week we're doing the 2015 class. Yeah. I think we're going to do a little pause after this one. We're going to get into Buckeye news. We're getting back in the thick of the season, camp. Everyone's coming in. But we're going to talk 2025.
Yeah.
And we're going to start it right off. What's your big overarching take of the recruiting landscape in the year of 2015?
Let's go over these guys like we do every time. The top 10 guys nationally. In my opinion, it's slightly underwhelming, but I'll let you make your own opinion. You kind of nailed it when we first did our first show. I got cat hair all over my face. When we did our first show, you were like, "Man, I bet these recruiting classes are a lot closer than we think," and they're not Ohio State wise. Some of these classes are way better than the others, but nationally and on the state scale, they're pretty fucking close, right? Like some classes are more top heavy than other classes. Some classes, there's no studs, but there's 5 guys that were, third round picks. Some classes there's like 5 guys that sucked and then 5 that are really good. It's just kind of interesting. This one, there's a lot of suck, but again, there's some guys that are like, okay, that guy was okay. There's very few stars, but we'll go over. These are the top 10 guys nationally that year. Number 1, Trent Thompson, defensive lineman, went to Georgia. This is a guy that's super interesting because he wasn't bad. He actually left early. I don't know. He was like never like a constant starter. I don't know why he left early. He kind of left. It feels like, based off of what I was reading, it was kind of like when Mike Weber left because J.K. Dobbins is basically the number 1 back. I actually got to see Trent Thompson in person for the Columbus Gladiators. The Columbus Destroyers of the Arena Football League a couple years ago, and he missed like every goddamn game. I think he's played like 3 snaps. So his lack of couldn't even go to the Arena Football League. I think most would consider him a bust. Number 2, Martez Ivy, offensive lineman, went to Florida. He started pretty much immediately. I think he dealt with some injury issues. He was pretty underwhelming. Another guy that didn't even get drafted. I think he's in the UFL now. I can't remember what team he's with. I think most would consider him a bust. You're number 2 recruit in the country, you're offensive lineman. They expect you to be, a dominant force, Paris Johnson type, and he's just not. Byron Cowart, number 3, defensive lineman, originally committed to Auburn, really struggled to see the field, transferred to Maryland. He ended up being all right. He ended up being okay. This was a guy that was, I think he was all Big Ten, ended up being drafted in the 5th round. So he was okay. I wouldn't put him in the bust category. Definitely a bust for Auburn, but put together a solid career at Maryland. Number 4 recruit, Eamon Marshall, defensive back, went to USC, ended up being a 4th round pick. I don't consider him a bust either. I believe he left early. This is a guy that I don't think he even played defense in high school, and they switched him over. And like I said, he left early before he could be like elite. But I think he was pretty solid throughout his career there. Derwin James, this is the star, right? This is the star of the top 10. Number 5 recruit that year. Defensive back, went to Florida State. He dealt with some injuries, but he was every bit a star, right? He was there for 4 years. 1 year was an injury red shirt. He started immediately, was an All-American caliber player, 1st round pick, all-pro level player. Number 6 is Khalil McKenzie, defensive lineman, went to Tennessee. This is another guy I wouldn't consider him a bust. He ended up being drafted in the 6th round. He plays offensive lineman now, was with the Chiefs for a bit. I think he's in the UFL as well. This is Reggie McKenzie's kid. He was okay. He was just a very, a big blob that didn't get moved. That has value in the college game, just not exciting. Number 7, CeCe Jefferson, a defensive lineman that went to Florida. This was the guy whose dad made a big scene on, I don't remember if it was like local news. At the time, right, it was when they were doing the hat thing, and he picked up the Florida hat over the Alabama hat, and his dad walked out or whatever.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, his dad might have been right because he was just a very average – I don't think he ever really started. Like, I think he was just part of a rotation, which is not what you want from 7th best recruit. Number 8, Kevin Tolliver, the 2nd defensive back, went to LSU. Another fairly underwhelming guy. I think that was the year that they got Derek Stingley as well, who obviously ended up being a star. So Kevin Tolliver did not. Josh Sweat, defensive lineman, went to Florida State. This is a guy, I think he left early as well, but he was right on the cusp of stardom. Very solid player. He's obviously led the Eagles in sacks this past year, right? No, I don't think anybody's calling him a bust. Malik Jefferson, this is the other star, bona fide star, no arguments.
Right.
Linebacker, went to Texas, ended up being a 3rd round pick. He won the Buckus Award. He was an All-American, I think, twice. Left early, absolute stud. Was an NFL journeyman. I think he was a little too slow to handle the speed in the NFL, but this is a guy who was an absolute thumper. Just a very, 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 very high-level player. So that was kind of the top 10. Anything to comment on those before we move on to the top 5 in Ohio?
No, I just totally forgot that Derwin James is in that class and what an absolute stud he is and what
absolute star
was and is, yeah.
Yeah, absolute star. Top 5 players in the state of Ohio that year. Justin Hilliard's number 1. We all are aware of him. Linebacker, ended up going to Ohio State, dealt with a lot of injuries. We'll dive in more in his story. LJ Scott, running back, went to Michigan State. So this is an interesting one because Ohio State never really made a move for him. There's conflicting stories. Like, some people say that Ohio State wanted him, but not bad enough to compete with Michigan State, yada, yada, yada. LJ Scott, he started like 3 years. All 3. He left college early, if I remember right. And he started all 3 years at Michigan State, never eclipsed 1,000 yards. He was very solid. Solid, but never good. Never
you always saw him on the field at Michigan State,
Never. It was a 3-year starter. Never eclipsed 1,000 yards.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, pretty wild. He definitely was the master Teague at Michigan State, if I would say. Right?
Yeah, I like that.
Kind of career arc. When you look at his stats, you're surprised by how bad they are. Jerome Baker was the number 3 Ohio player in that class. Linebacker, ended up going to Ohio State, was a 3rd-round pick. I think he even left early. Jerome Baker, we all love Jerome Baker. Jerome Baker was a hell of a Buckeye. I think he did leave early. If he wouldn't have left early, it would have been interesting to see what his career did. Eric Glover Williams, defensive back. He ended up going to Ohio State as well. We know he didn't do much. And then number 5 was Draymond Jones, was a defensive end. We all know Draymond, ended up moving into the interior. Fantastic player, ended up being a 3rd-round pick, still in the NFL, very highly paid for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
So anything on those before we move on to the top 5 misses of that class for Ohio State?
I don't. Super side note, though. It's so funny. You brought up using the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to tell you this: if we break this news, if this news breaks, and it's going to break here first. I was walking through the Seattle-Tacoma airport, and I was about ready to go through my TSA pre-check or pre-clear because the military, I got to just fucking scoot through the line. A very, very large man. He was being escorted by TSA agents, and personal security went right through the line. That man was Von Miller. Saw Von Miller in the Seattle airport last week. And I immediately knew it was him. And nobody else did. And I said, Von, you the man. And he just goes, gave me one of these. Like, oh, shit, it is him.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell
hey,
yeah, bro.
If Von Miller took a secret visit to Seattle, he signs here in the next couple of weeks. High State of Mind podcast, perfect first.
Love it, bro. Love it. I love that you went, Vaughn, you're the man.
I did. I told my buddy it's me, and he's kind of a baseball guy, but he knows football enough. I was like, I think it's Von Miller. I saw 2 or 3 TSA agents just kind of walking through, and I was like,
that's so funny.
I'm gonna do it. I was like, Vaughn, you the man. He's like, gave me one of those.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So the top 5 biggest misses Ohio State missed out on that year. Damian Harris. We're all aware of Damian Harris. He ended up going to Alabama, having a hell of a career. Ended up being a 3rd-round pick by the Patriots, I believe.
Yes.
Ohio State was working on him hard before he picked Alabama. Jaquez Patrick. This was a guy that I loved watching at Florida State. I kept expecting him to become a star. Really didn't do much. Very LJ Scott-like career. Ohio State was really, really working on him until he committed to Florida State.
Yeah.
They didn't really miss much there. Sean Crawford, this was an Ohio kid. Ohio State really, really, really was working on him. He ended up picking Notre Dame over Ohio State, was a cornerback, did not do much. I think he might have even retired after like 2 years. They got hurt or something. Carlton Davis, a cornerback, ended up going to Auburn. Ohio State was really working hard on him, and that's probably the guy on this list I would want to have the most. I mean, I think he ended up being an All-American before jolting for the NFL, being a 2nd-round pick. Number 5 guy was Tyler Green, safety. He ended up going to Indiana and then transferring to Lindenwood, another guy who didn't really do much. That was a name I didn't even recognize, but yeah, this was a guy that he was committed to Ohio State at one. No. Yeah, both Carlton Davis and Tyler Green were committed to Ohio State at one point, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, those guys were ultimately committed before they decommitted. But yeah, so those are some of the biggest misses. Before we dive into the thing, I like to go back to my preseason magazines and see what they read. So this is from Lindy's, the number 7 rated recruiting class, Ohio State. They wrote, while the significant bump from the national championship run should come in the 2016 class, Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes did plenty of work in 2015 to position themselves for several more runs at a title. After a season in which 3 quarterbacks played at All-American levels for Ohio State, it's only fitting that 2 more 4-stars are on their way to Columbus. Fort Lauderdale native Torrance Gibson may be the most athletic quarterback in the country and will be a great fit for Urban Meyer's offense. But there weren't many quarterbacks anywhere in the country that were more efficient and productive than in-state 4-star Joe Burrow. Between the two, the depth at the position just keeps piling under Urban Meyer. We love the way Ohio State evaluated the defensive back position with guys like Denzel Ward and Joshua Norwood being stowaway players that can develop into NFL-type talents as they get bigger and stronger. The same can be said of offensive line. Ohio State recruited mass, size, and upside up front with 6'9", 305-pounder Kevin Fetter being the biggest, and Army All-American guard Matthew Burrell being maybe the most physically ready. At linebacker, the nation's number 2 outside linebacker, Justin Hilliard, is joined by the number 4 athlete in the country, Jerome Baker, as athletic front 7 talents. But the best of the class may be Cleveland St. Ignatius defensive end Draymond Jones, who was a standout in the U.S. Army All-American game. So there's that one. Steve Wiltfong writes, the defending national champions finished with the number 7 ranked recruiting class according to 24/7 Sports. 6 prospects ranked inside the top 100, led by in-state linebackers Justin Hilliard and Jerome Baker. The Buckeyes loaded up in the trenches by taking 6 offensive linemen, led by Isaiah Prince and Matthew Burrell, and 6 defensive linemen, led by Jayshon Cornell and Draymond Jones. 2 4-star quarterbacks signed Torrance Gibson and Ohio's Mr. Football, Joe Burrow. We have the number 1 signing coup that year went to Ohio State and Penn State. The Buckeyes are bringing in one of the nation's top offensive line and linebacker classes with Isaiah Prince and Matthew Burrell leading a 6-player O-line group, and in-state standouts Justin Hilliard, Jerome Baker, and Nick Connor being a 3-headed monster linebacker. I don't know. I think it was because I think I cut this off. I guess all 6 of those players were like committed to other schools beforehand. Ohio State kind of swung in and snagged them, which I thought was interesting. The biggest miss that year, as by Lindy Sports, the Spartans signed a strong class with several difference makers across the board, but coming off a Rose Bowl, MSU looked primed to sign 3 more of the state's best, and Michael Weber, who ended up going to Ohio State, and then obviously they named 2 other players. But I thought that was interesting that that was a huge miss for Ohio State. And then Mike Weber was even voted as the top newcomer for Ohio State that year. A former 4-star prospect from Detroit Cass Tech, a high school that's become important to Urban Meyer's recruiting efforts. Weber's arrival at Ohio State was tumultuous. It was troublesome. After running backs coach Stan Drayton left for the Chicago Bears the day after signing day. Now, I remember this being a big deal. Things, however, smoothed over with Weber, and he could have an instant role on the already deep Buckeyes offense. The Weber one is super interesting because I went back and listened to a lot of podcasts, and everybody thought he was going to go to Michigan State. I think this was Harbaugh's first class. Is that right? This was Harbaugh's first class?
Yeah.
And he was working hard too. So a lot of people were shocked when Ohio State got Weber, and then Stan Drayton quits. And they're like, what? He was like, what the hell? What? I didn't even want to come here. So, ended up being a good move for him. This from Sporting News. For a 5th straight year, Ohio State finishes with a top recruiting class in the Big Ten, led by 5-star outside linebacker Justin Hilliard, a top-ranked prospect in Ohio. Urban Meyer and his staff signed 27 in this recruiting cycle, including perhaps the top linebacker class in the country and arguably the top quarterbacks between U.S. Army All-American Torrance Gibson, Ohio's Mr. Football 24/7 ranked passer Joe Burrow. 19 players in the recruiting class ranked 4 stars or better as the Buckeyes Hall finished number 7 nationally. 8 players were top 100 recruits by either 24/7 or 24/7 composite. So that's all I got. It is interesting to note, too, all the hype that Joe Burrow was getting in this preseason mags because he was kind of a late bloomer, right? He wasn't invited to any of these also.
No, I remember watching that state championship game on TV as well. I think a few interesting things. I mean, you think of this as the recruiting class right after the national championship season of 2015. I think this is the first class you and I have covered that this recruiting class has fallen out of the top 5 nationally. But also, I think maybe I attest this to Urban Meyer himself saying after the Buckeyes hoist the trophy and win the national championship. Hey, I wasn't expecting this. This team was almost a year early, and I think that recruiting class maybe reflects that a little bit as well.
Yeah, and that magazine one of those magazines kind of talked about that too. Usually when you talk about recruiting classes, you're looking for the year, right? Because this recruiting class, the 2015 recruiting class was basically done in 2014, right? It's no different than recruiting today, even though it was 10 years ago. So that national championship impact is usually the next year. But yeah, this recruiting class, Ohio State recruiting class, was ranked outside the top 5, and probably for good reason. We're going to go through this list here, and some of these guys just didn't live. Some of these guys just simply did not live up to the hype, and a lot of it wasn't their fault. A lot of injuries to this class.
No, I wholehearily agree. We're going to start off with injuries. Our first 2 we got Justin Hilliard, outside linebacker, 5-star, and Jerome Baker, who was a 4-star as well.
I'm trying to pull up now. So Justin Hilliard gets 0 points.
Yes.
Although he was pretty productive. 2020 team captain. He had an Achilles injury that cut his spring practice short in 2019, but he did go on to play 12 games that year and even started 3 games, twice for Wisconsin, and also started against Michigan. He had 13 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and his first interception, which came in the fourth quarter of the Big Ten East Division clinching win over Penn State. He had at least 1 tackle in 12 of the 14 games he played in 2019. The 2018 season saw him playing 13 games while making 20 tackles, 14 solo, and forcing 2 pass breakups. He tied for the team lead with 6 special teams tackles in 2018, 3 of which were inside the 20-yard line. He did earn a letter in 2017. That was his first letter, where he played in all 14 games and got 14 tackles on the season. He missed the majority of his first 2 seasons with 2 different biceps injuries.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That's miserable, dude. And he played 3 games in 2016 where he made 4 tackles immediately in the first game against Bowling Green before going down with those injuries. So that's unfortunate. Now Jerome Baker does get some points. Jerome Baker is a guy. He got 5 points here, right on our little scale.
Yep.
He was a guy, when he was coming in, a lot of people thought he was going to be a running back, me included. His running back tape, they won the state championship basically on the back of him, and that dude was a phenomenal athlete. They made the right choice. He didn't have the speed to be a running back, and he had obviously the frame to be a linebacker, and the athleticism made him special. If he would have stayed at Ohio State, we might be talking about him as one of the best linebackers in history. But unfortunately, he left early, right as he started to kind of rev it up. But he led Ohio State in tackles in 2017 with 72, and he was second on the team in tackles in 2016 with 83. So if he would have came back another year, you're talking about 3 productive years where he's a leading tackler. That's a whole new guy, man. So he got 5 points there because he was a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, when I think Jerome Baker, I think of that 2016 Ohio State Michigan game. I think of that standout game he had. He had the pick 6 as well.
Yes. It was off a tip pass. Was that right?
Yep, off tip pass off of just. I think Michigan was deep in their own territory, took it into the house, they scored right before halftime. Yeah, Jerome. That's the Jerome Baker highlight that stands out for me.
Absolute freak. Athletic. Yeah. For sure.
No, next 2 we got Draymond Jones, defensive end 4-star, and Torrance Gibson, quarterback 4-star.
I think I messed up Draymond. I think I messed up Draymond Jones's points too. Like, what round was he drafted in?
Yeah, I think you did as well, because I think he was drafted in like the 4th or the 5th.
All right, so while you're looking at that, I'll read my little synopsis. I gave him 5 points without that because he was a freshman All-American, as well as first team All-Big Ten and third team All-Big Ten. I think he was an early round pick, so that's probably another 5 points waiting on him. But we'll wait for the Google confirmation there. This is a guy that came in as a defensive end. Everybody kind of knew he was going to be moved on the inside.
Third rounder, 71st pick overall, 2019.
So that's another 5 points there. So let's go ahead and mark that. That's 14 points. Yeah. And it's now 72 total points.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to keep your eye on me, bro. You got to keep your eye on me. You never know when I'm going to mess up. But yeah, he was named an first team All-American in 2018, which was his last year at Ohio State, by College Football News. I don't think that's the one I did not count because it's College Football News, but we did count the freshman All-American. He earned first team All-Big Ten conference honors by both the coaches and the media. He started all 14 games in 2018, and he started 11 games in 2017, had 43 tackles that year, including 13.5 tackles for loss and 8.5 quarterback sacks. He became the first Ohio State defensive lineman in recorded history to score 2 touchdowns in one season, returning an interception 28 yards for a score against TCU, and later recovering a fumble in the end zone versus Michigan State. He earned third team All-Big Ten honors in 2017. He redshirted in 2015 season because he got hurt in high school when Ohio State was recruiting him, which is funny because he dominated that USA Army All-American game. And then in 2016, that's when he started at defensive tackle for the first year. He was the leading tackler among defensive linemen that year with 52 total tackles. And he had 8 stops, 8 tackles in a critical win against Wisconsin, and had 7 in the overtime win over Michigan. He was a two-time all academic, all Big Ten, two-time all scholar, whatever, yada yada yada. So yeah, Draymond Jones, probably one of the best wore the scarlet and gray for sure. No one would call him a bust. Now this next guy, Torrance Gibson, left-handed 4-star quarterback. Everybody was stoked about him.
Yeah.
He suffered an ankle injury as a freshman, and it was game over. He ended up transferring to Mississippi Gulf College. Then he transferred to Cincinnati, where he did not qualify. So then he was just going with school. Torrance Gibson was an interesting guy. He struggled with academics immediately, which is not – he actually was – I think he slapped his tutor's ass or something. So he got – yeah, he did something stupid. And then that was basically it for him. He was a guy – if you go back and listen to the podcast too, everybody is so certain that he is going to be a star. Everybody's like, that's the guy. He's going to play immediately. He's big. He's fast. He's strong. If he's not a quarterback, they're going to find a way to give him the ball. He's going to play wide receiver. And none of that was true. He ended up just not even being very good. I mean, this is a guy that went up to Canada, was with the Edmonton Elks for a bit. This might have been back when they were the Eskimos. Because remember, this is 2015 now. So this is a while ago. And he didn't do shit up in Canada. And he didn't really do shit in the Arena League. I think he played quarterback for the Green Bay Blizzard. And then he played wide receiver for I think he's still in the Arena League, but he's not dominating like you would think a guy of his. Verlon Reed has had a better career in the Arena League than Torrance, or in the arena leagues, Arena Football League or Indoor Football League, whichever one you'll pick, than Torrance Gibson. So, and Torrance Gibson didn't exactly tear it up in community college either, by the way.
Is that right?
Not really. Yeah.
Ooh.
That's another 0 point.
Yeah, 0 points. That makes sense. Next two, we got 2 points amongst the next two. We've got Matthew Burrell, 4-star guard, and Jason Cornell, 4-star defensive end.
Yeah, Matthew Burrell, that's another Arena Football star. He 2017 he played in 12 games on the offensive line. 2016 he played in 13 games, and in 2015 he redshirted. He played some pretty extensive drives for Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Maryland. This is a guy that did play quite a bit. He kind of got buried on the depth chart the next year. Saw the writing. He saw the writing on the wall and basically left. He went to Sam Houston State, where he was okay. Nothing to write home about. I think he's in the UFL right now. I can't remember with which team, but he was also with the Tucson Sugar Skulls of the Arena Football, or I think it was the Indoor Football League. There's so many of those leagues. But yeah, again, kind of a 0 pointer. Jason Cornell, defensive end, 4-star. He played both defensive end, defensive tackle during his time at Ohio State. He started all 14 games in 2019. His first start was actually in 2018 against Minnesota, which is where he's from. So that's a fun fact there. His senior year, he had 30 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. He even had a critical quarterback sack in the Rose Bowl win over Washington. Very, very productive, okay player. No one is ever going to call Jason Cornell a star, but no one is going to call him a bust.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that one. Next coming up, we got another Mississippi Gulf Coaster, as well as Mike Weber. We got Eric Glover Williams, 4-star athlete, and Mike Weber, 4-star running back.
Yeah, Eric Glover Williams he came into Ohio State ranked as an athlete. A lot of people thought he might play on the offensive side of the ball. They thought, he's got so much versatility. He could play at either cornerback or safety. He played at neither, dude. He played at neither. He sat the bench for 2 years. Then he transferred to Mississippi Gulf Community College with your boy Torrance. He was actually okay. And then he went to Slippery Rock and was, I don't know, below average. That's a D2 school. So Ohio State didn't miss there. I think he did end up playing his best ball at safety. But yeah, this was a guy that was kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, and Ohio State didn't know what to do with him. Mike Weber, 4-star running back. He ran for over 1,000 yards as a true freshman. Added another 600 yards during his sophomore season. That he suffered an injury, which allowed J.K. Dobbins to really shine. Him and J.K. Dobbins were just a nasty, nasty duo, maybe one of the best duos in Ohio State history. Obviously not compared to the two we had this past year, but they're up there. He had 82 yard. He had an 82-yard touchdown against Michigan State. And had 4 rushes over 40 yards that year with a career best 53-yard reception versus Maryland. He rushed for a career high 162 yards against Michigan State that year. And had a terrific. He was named the freshman All-American as well after rushing for that 1,096 yards and caught 23 passes out of the backfield for 91 yards. It was named the Big Ten's Freshman of the Year. He was just 3rd on Ohio State's freshman list, rushing total list, He was just the third Ohio State freshman to rush for over 1,000 yards with Robert Smith and Maurice Claret. So, hell of a career for Mike Weber. He got a whopping 14 points there. So
yeah, I think we've stated it a couple weeks in a row now. Yeah, we saw the writing on the wall with J.K. coming in, splitting some carries, but it was a little bit of a surprise to see him go early as well.
Yes. Very, very interesting. Mike Weber does not get. I don't know if he would. No, I don't think anybody's putting Weber up there with Robert Smith and Maurice Claret. But he definitely definitely deserves more credit than he gets.
No, he was definitely crucial in the focal point of the offenses in which he played in. Absolutely.
Yes. Number 9th player of that class, Denzel Ward, who was actually listed as a wide receiver. A lot of people thought he was going to play wide receiver.
Right. Yeah.
This is another guy who left early, and I really wish he wouldn't have. Because we might be talking about him as one of the greatest to ever do it. He earned All-American honors and first-team All-Big Ten honors in 2017 as a junior, where he had 17 pass deflections and 15 pass breakups and 2 interceptions, with one coming in the Big Ten championship game over Wisconsin. The 17 passes defended is the 4th highest single season total in school history. He had 5 breakups and 6 passes defended in the season opener against Indiana, and he made one of the biggest plays of the year in the 39-38 win over Penn State, blocking a 4th quarter punt with the Buckeyes down by 15. That also included 37 total tackles in those 13 starts. So Denzel Ward started early, hot and heavy early. He ended up being a first-round pick by the Cleveland Browns. Is an absolute star in the NFL as well. It would be interesting to see where he would rank among the all-time greats if he would have stayed.
No, another year would have been phenomenal. Then again, I'm always that guy. I'm that old school purist in a sense. Unless you're guaranteed first round, why would you go early, kind of thing. Denzel went early. Denzel will live forever in the internet laurels thanks to that Gus Johnson call. So,
which
you got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me.
Oh yeah,
yes.
That's a good one.
He'll always stay there. But Isaiah Prince, though.
Isaiah Prince, 4-star offensive tackle. He started every game from the beginning of his sophomore season on. He was a team captain as a senior. He earned first-team All-Big Ten Conference honors and was named third-team Big Ten All-Conference in 2017. So we got some pretty heavy hitters there. Denzel Ward got 13 points. Isaiah Prince had 6 points. Isaiah Prince was good, too. I think a lot of people expect him to be a little bit better because he started for, when you think of like an offensive lineman that started for 3 years at Ohio State, you wouldn't think of Isaiah Prince, who was very good, but not elite. But no one's bitching about him for sure. And then no one's bitching about the next guy either. KJ Hill, 4-star wide receiver from the state of Arkansas. This was a big get. I tell you what, you want to go watch some crazy high school highlight tapes, go watch KJ Hill. That dude, his highlight tape is right up there with the best of them ever. He has the school record for 201 career receptions between 2016 and 2019. He was 6th in school history with 2,332 career receiving yards and with 20 touchdown passes. The first receiver in school history with 3 years of 50 or more receptions. He caught a pass in 48 consecutive games, which is a tie for Gary Williams. A lot of people don't know Gary Williams as a receiver back in the 80s. He played in 53 games and caught at least 1 pass in 50 of them. He was a co-captain in 2019, and he led the team in receiving in 2017 with 56 receptions, and again in 2019 with 57. He earned consecutive honorable mention All Big Ten honors in 2018 and 2019, set career high records with 187 receiving yards, the 8th highest total in school history, with 2 touchdowns off of 9 receptions in a 2018 win over Minnesota. He had a career best 12 receptions, which is the 4th highest in school history, and 102 yards in the dramatic come from behind win over Penn State in 2017. He also had 45 career punt returns. Yeah, man, KJ Hill, it's weird that he only got 3 points with all those goddamn stats, but that dude was just out there doing it all 4 years, dealt with some serious injuries that hampered him in the NFL and also in the CFL last year. So,
yeah, when I think KJ Hill, I can't name another Ohio State receiver in the plethora of phenomenal ones. I can't name another Ohio State wide receiver that was so effective on the screens, the slip screens, the 5, the 2 yards and outs, the 5s, all these little short route receiver KJ Hill is up there all the time as Ohio State. He would just, the ball would get in the quarterback's hands, it'd be out quick, right to him, and he'd be scampering up the field.
Yes. And I'm telling you, go back and watch his high school tape, dude. It's crazy. Guy was
Is that right?
Oh yeah, guy was a menace. The number 12 player in that class, Joshua Norwood, 4-star cornerback. We gave him a big fat 0. He let's see here. In 2016, he played in 11 games. He finished the season with 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass breakup. That was after redshirting in 2015. So this is a guy that played a little bit. Obviously, was never going to see the field as a starter. Transferred to Northwest Mississippi Community College, and then he had an okay career at the JUCO level before transferring back to West Virginia, where he was again fairly underwhelming. He was all right.
Yeah, agree.
Ohio State didn't miss on much. But now the next guy, this will go down in history as a whiff. Not because well, let's talk about it. Joe Burrow, 13th best player in the class, 4-star quarterback, and he gets 0 points because he transferred to LSU. He redshirted. He took a redshirt in 2015. In 2016, he saw action in 6 games and was the primary backup to JT Barrett. He connected on 22 of 28 passes for 226 yards and a pair of touchdowns when he ran. And he also ran for 58 yards and a touchdown that year. His best game came in a 62-3 win over Nebraska, where he completed all 6 of his pass attempts for 62 yards and also ran for a touchdown. His other passing touchdown came in that Bowling Green win. And he had a passing touchdown against Maryland as well. So he played a little bit that year. 2017, he played 4 games, completed 7 of 11 passes for 61 yards, and he saw action against UNLV, Rutgers, Nebraska, and Illinois. He completed all 4 of his passes for 37 yards against UNLV and was 2 for 2 for 20 yards against Rutgers. Then he transferred because he lost the job to Dwayne Haskins that spring. People that don't know Ohio State football look at that and laugh because Joe Burrow has had a much better NFL career than Dwayne Haskins. Joe Burrow had a much better college career than Dwayne Haskins. But Dwayne Haskins, A, left early, and B, the 2018 seasons are incomparable. Dwayne Haskins lit the record book on fire in 2018. Yeah. He was by far the better quarterback. He was by far the better quarterback than Joe Burrow in 2018. The problem is Ohio State should have kept work a little bit harder to keep Joe Burrow for that magical 2019 season. Of course, if he didn't play 2018, maybe he would have been the stud in 2019. It's hard to tell, right?
Good point. Very good point. Nick Connor, inside linebacker, 4-star. Another 0. We got a couple zeros coming up. We got Nick Connor, 4-star inside linebacker, and Alex Strump, 4-star wide receiver.
Yeah. Nick Connor, 4-star. Preseason magazines were pretty stoked about him. Ohio guy. He had 3 knee injuries in the 4 years he played for Ohio State. He took a medical redshirt his freshman year, and then he took another redshirt in 2016 and 2017 due to another knee injury. He did play 1 game in 2016 against that Bowling Green team, which again everybody got to play against, I guess. Where he recorded 3 tackles before going down with an injury. His 3rd and final knee injury was during the spring game or the spring practices in 2017, and he walked away from football. So unfortunately, that's a 0-star. It would have been interesting to see what he could have done if he was not injured all the time, but unfortunately, we'll never know. Number 15, Alex Stump, 4-star wide receiver. He caught 1 pass for 8 yards in 2016 after redshirting in 2015. Transferred to Vanderbilt, where he also didn't do much.
Another Slippery Rock native here. I would say native. Another Slippery Rock transfer. We got AJ Alexander, tight end, 4-star.
Yes, 2015 took a red shirt. 2016 played in all 13 games and actually started once. He was the main backup tight end throughout the entire year. He caught 4 passes for 27 yards and also played on every special teams basically. He also had 3 catches for 24 yards in a win against Nebraska. 2017 he went down with injury. Okay. 2018 I think he sat out. No, 2017 he went down with injury and he walked away. Ohio State. Basically, Ohio State was going to play this guy. AJ Alexander was supposed to be a dude. Ohio State forced him to medically retire. He sat out a whole year without playing football, then transferred to Slippery Rock where he was okay. And
Mhm.
then he went to Gardner Webb where he was below average. So
Yeah.
he did end up going and competing. I think he was in college for like 6-7 years. So good for him. But yeah, that's actually a shame because he, like I said, Ohio State liked him. He was going to play. He was good. Nick Connor, we never know. We'll never know. Well, I just simply have not seen enough from Nick Connor to know shit. But AJ Alexander, that was a dude who was playing. He was playing. He just suffered some injuries.
Yeah, we've got some points though. Point alert. Braden Bowen, or Bowen as it was, 3-star offensive tackle. We got some points here.
Yes, Brandon Bowen, 3-star offensive tackle. Let's see here. He missed half of 2017 and all of 2018, but he came back in 2019 and started 6 games. No, he started every game at right tackle. He started 6 games in 2017 at right guard, but 13 times in 2019 at right tackle. Here in second team All Big Ten Conference honors in 2019. So no one's calling him a bust. No one's calling him a star. That's pretty good for a 3-star. You got him. He started 2 years at offensive line. Probably would have started a few more if not for injuries. This is a guy that was, when he was out there, he was not a liability at all. I would put him in the same category as a guy like Josh Fryer.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've got 2 transfers coming up. We've got Jamel Dean, 3-star cornerback. He transferred to Auburn, as well as Grant Schmidt, 3-star offensive tackle, went to Cincinnati and South Dakota State.
So Jamel Dean is one that also deserves that Joe Burrow asterisk because he never got to play football at Ohio State. He committed to Ohio State, went to Ohio State, immediately was declared medically ineligible. I think he tore up his knee 3 times in high school.
I think in the ballpark, yeah.
Yeah, someone needs to Google that, double check that. So Ohio State was like, sorry, dude. So he ended up going to Auburn where they took a chance on him, and he was an absolute star. I think he even left early and was drafted very early and broke some rookie records for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Jamel Dean, absolute star. I think he even ran track at Auburn where he broke a bunch of indoor track records because the dude made a speed. So that's really unfortunate because that guy would have played, would have started, would have made an impact. Grant Schmidt, 3-star offensive tackle from the state of South Dakota, couldn't see the field. He initially transferred to Cincinnati where he also couldn't see the field. Then he transferred to South Dakota State. He had a big welcome home. People were stoked about him coming back home. I think he transferred back, and that was the year where Anna Vinatieri's son was the quarterback too. I think so, or he transferred in, or was the federal recruit? Whatever. He was okay there. He was okay there. I would say less than ideal, obviously. Number 20, Joshua Alibi, 3-star defensive end. He actually has a couple starts. He started in the 2019 Rose Bowl against Washington. At left tackle when Thayer Munford went down. And he also started 2 games in 2019 with Nebraska and Michigan State. So he came in as a defensive end, Ohio State, and moved him over to the offensive line his second year. I don't know. This is a guy who would have been interesting to see what would have happened if he would have played offensive lineman his entire career, because I don't think he was good, but he might have had like a Brandon Bowen kind of career. But unfortunately, he was kind of moved back and forth.
No, I agree wholeheartedly on that one. Last five. Devon Hamilton, 3-star defensive tackle.
You skip BB Landers, baby.
You skipped BB Landers.
Did I skip BB Landers? I apologize.
I pulled your Excel, homie.
Oh, damn it, dude. I didn't put BB Landers. No, there he is. Robert Landers, 22. You fucking liar.
Okay.
Make me look like an asshole. Another zero guy, but probably deserved more. He started 11 games in 2018. He did deal with some injuries throughout his career, but he always kind of battled through them. Had 10 tackles, 5 tackles for loss in 2017 as a sophomore. Recorded 16 tackles and 7.5 tackles for loss in 2016 as a redshirt freshman, and earned champion from the Ohio State coaches against Penn State and USC. He had a personal best of 4 tackles versus Tulsa in 2016 and had 2 tackles for loss in games against Tulsa, Rutgers, and Indiana in 2016 as well. He was tied that year. He was tied with Tyquan Lewis for the team lead and games with multiple tackles for loss. So Robert Landers played a lot. Maybe if he was bumped and bruised throughout his career. He was kind of undersized. I don't know. he didn't check a lot of boxes to do much as far as like NFL wise or dominate the game. If he was healthy his entire career, maybe things would have looked a little bit different. But yeah, it's a shame we got to give him 0 points because he was an effective player for 3 years at Ohio State.
Agreed.
But yeah, your boy Devon Hamilton, that's a big one. This is a big one for the class. He ended up getting 6 points, absolute star. Started all 14 games in 2019. Where he had 10.5 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback sacks, and 28 total tackles, earning 13 All Big Ten Conference honors. That was his big year. He was drafted, pretty early, right? 4th round or so?
Something like that, yeah. No, he was drafted in the 3rd.
He was drafted in the 3rd round, yeah. And he's still in the NFL today, still playing significant snaps. Devon Hamilton, absolute star. Rashad Berry. This was a fun one, and a 3-star athlete. He played both on the defensive line and tight end his entire career at Ohio State, just bouncing back and forth. A matter of fact, he played both positions against Maryland and Rutgers, which makes him the first two-way player since Zach Bourne played fullback and linebacker in 2012. But yeah, Rashad Berry did it against Indiana. He caught the game-winning touchdown in the Rose Bowl versus Washington in 2019, which is a 1-yarder from Dwayne Haskins. His biggest catch, though, was in 2018 overtime against Maryland, which was 11 yards on a 4th down. It would end up being the game-winning Ohio State touchdown drive. Fox Sports had a question during one of the game. Who on your team would you put in the octagon against an opponent's tough guy? It was Rashad Berry was the resounding result. That makes sense. Rashad Berry, I don't think he was ever going to be a star, but you can tell he checks a lot of boxes. He spent some time with the New England Patriots on the defensive side of the ball. He plays for the Houston Roughnecks in the UFL right now at linebacker and is not a liability when he gets in there.
No.
I don't think he would have been a star, but I think he would have been a competitive player had he gotten an opportunity to play on the defensive side of the ball his entire career. He just wasn't. I don't think he was explosive enough to be a tight end, if that makes sense.
No, I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that. Yeah, I do remember that game winner though. I do remember that. It's obviously I'm certain a highlight of his career as well, but.
It seems counterintuitive to be like, oh, he's not explosive enough to be tight end, but he could play linebacker. But on the defensive side, but to play tight end, you kind of need like a little bit of long speed to kind of hit that seam, right? He's got a great quick first step, and then which is perfect for linebacker and defensive end.
Right.
Ohio State just kind of wasted what they had with him, but it is what it is. 24, Kevin Fetter, 3-star offensive tackle, redshirt in 2015, didn't play anything. Didn't play in 2016 or 17. Ended up transferring to Kansas where he didn't play, and I believe he's in the WWE now. I think he's like on one of the.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're actually. I think it's like NXT or something. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense because one of those preseason magazines talked about him being the biggest dude at like 6'9", 305. And there are photos of him, and the dude is not fat. The dude, I wish I looked like that, and he weighs 100 pounds more than me. So,
right.
Yeah. Moving on to 25, Damon Arnett. Ding, ding, ding. Call back.
There he is.
The show. 3-star cornerback, earned Big Ten All-Conference honors 3 times, including second-team accolades in 2019. He recorded a 96-yard interception return versus Indiana in 2019. That is the 4th longest in school history. He had an interception in the 2018 Big Ten Championship game over in Northwestern, and also had interceptions in 2017 versus UNLV and Michigan State, and one as a redshirt freshman in 2016 versus Nebraska. He played the entirety of the senior season with a cast on one hand due to a hand injury. Damon Arnett, absolute stud, 7 points. Anything you want to add on Damon before we read off the last guy?
No, just a guy that had an issue of stepping up and being an adult and leaving some I wouldn't even say childish things, just immature things in the rear view. But he's got another shot. We'll see. NFL gave him a second shot. He's with the Houston Texans. Let's see if he makes the most of it.
Yeah, this is a guy that should be very grateful that the NIL did not exist back when he was playing college ball, because he would have gotten the boatload, And I don't know if he would utilize that very wisely. So, the last guy in the class, Liam McCullough, 2-star long snapper, had 132 good snaps. I don't know why. I guess that means snaps that weren't fuck-ups in 2016, 143 in 2017, and 156 in 2018, and another 146 in 2019. Okay, so as you got the hint, he was the long snapper for a long time.
Yes.
He was the finalist for the Patrick Manley Award as a senior in 2019, which is the top long snapper award. His career highs were of 13 snaps 3 times, and his fewest snaps throughout his career was 5 times. He accomplished it 5 times. It was 8 snaps, which I found shocking. That is way more snaps than I thought that would be his lowest. He lettered 3 times during his time at Ohio State. Was an OSU Scholar athlete as well as academic All Big Ten, and he is still in the NFL today with the Atlanta Falcons. So surprisingly, the guy who got 0 points, the least rated recruit, guy who plays a position no one pays attention to, is probably having one of the most successful NFL careers of anybody on this list. Maybe the most, right?
Him and Burrow, I'd argue it.
Burrow, I apologize.
Brother-in-law checking in.
146. I don't know what that is.
Previous recruit, Kansas maybe.
Is that must be his area? I don't know. Program guy. I don't know what that dude. I don't know what that means. Is one of these guys went to Missouri? Did one of these guys go to Missouri? We missed it. I don't think this class had any Missouri guys.
I think maybe we're talking about the Grant Schmidt, South Dakota State. I don't know.
He's from South Dakota. Snaps.
Okay.
Snaps a road, dude. Oh, 146.
There it is.
Thanks, Danny.
So we've covered 6 recruiting classes, 2020 to 2015. We do have an asterisk, like you said. This class here does in fact get 74 points, but with an outstanding lead, almost doubled, almost lapped the pool. That 2017 class was 200 points.
Dude, wild. Danny, are you still here, by the way? Because if you're still here, Chris and I will talk about your fucking hatred for Quinn Ewers. But yeah, if he doesn't
snaps in a row, figure it out.
So I fucked up the 5 points for Draymond, so it's 72 points. But yeah, man, are you surprised? I'm actually surprised it got as many points as it did, because a lot of those names, I'm like, dude, that guy. Some of the guys that were getting points were like Jayshon Cornell got points, and it was like that guy. I don't want to shit on Jayshon Cornell with a class that includes Torrance Gibson, and Eric Glover Williams, but like that's a guy that's one of the big heavy hitters in this class, and he was not a starter that I would put on. I don't think he would make the all-decade team, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't know how to say it without sounding to be rude.
No, I mean, that definitely is what it is. Just some long snapper love. Don't get a brain freeze over it, my friend. No. When we do get some off time, we got a slow week, what have you. Like I said, we could jump back. We could cover that 2014 class. Next week, though, next week we've got a cool predicament on our hands. Do we want to go ahead and look at preseason Big Ten outlook? Do we want to start looking at positions? Do we want to start ranking our Big Ten quarterbacks, running backs, receivers? Do we want to? It's wide open, but we're finally going to be in the last week of June. Just crawling into July, and then before we know it, football's here, my friend.
So let's talk about this a little bit. So I was thinking, a lot of people out there doing team previews, and I think it would be really cool to do every episode we dedicate to one team. But that's 18 teams. That's impossible. Yeah. So maybe we should just maybe next week we'll do our Big Ten. Just do our wins. Just do our Mike and I had a show last year, and it'll be really, really interesting. I'm going to go back and listen to it too to figure out who, because we looked at the Vegas lines. For every Big Ten team, we did the over/under. So maybe we could do something like that.
Okay.
Or we could do our projections.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to you too. Our rankings. You know what I mean? There's an option there. We could also do a lead up where we do maybe next episode we do the top 5 quarterbacks in the Big Ten, as well as the running backs and wide. Like, I don't know. Let's see. We want to be able to do a couple positions, right? Because there's too many. Tight end.
You can do a defense as a whole. You can do an offensive line as a whole.
Could. Yeah, we got like I don't know. So yeah, you want to? I mean, do you want to do? So it's up to you. Do you want to do Big Ten win projections?
Let's do wins. Let's do wins next week, and then we'll start getting into positions the following.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. That works. Cool.
I'm definitely with it. To each and every one of you that jumped on, we appreciate you. We will be on from Thursdays from now on. We, like I said, slowly ramping up to the start of college football season. Dude, even though I got up at 4:30 in the morning here, I'm glad to be back with you. I will be here throughout our coverage of the Ohio State-Texas game, and then I will be back stateside.
I am trying not to bring it up because I know I'm gonna fucking slip up and say it.
Go ahead.
No, like I'm just saying, like so, like
oh,
this whole time I want to make fun of you for being like in a weird white room, being in a foreign country, but like I don't want to bring focus to it because I know that I'll fucking slip up.
I'm in this little tiny ass room. You're like, where is he hostage right now? I have a sign.
But I have no restraint, and I know that I'll slip up.
No, I'll be here for a little whiles longer, and I don't know. Just treat me like the Ultimate Warrior. I'm from parts unknown.
Hey, you know what we could do?
Yeah.
Here, we're throwing this out there too. The new college football video games coming out. We could do our projected ratings for Ohio State.
I didn't bring my Xbox. I know, but I am excited for it. Don't get me wrong. I am excited for it. I might go down the hall and steal someone's Xbox.
I'm gonna do the same thing I did last year. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna buy it the first day it comes out. I'm gonna play like 3 seasons with a 1-star team, and I'm gonna jack up the level, and I'm gonna lose like 4 games, get frustrated. I'm terrible at that game. I don't have enough time to dedicate to get good at the fucking game. Do you remember how long it took me to figure out how to run the option? You were like, bro, you just gotta.
I do.
Dude,
just let go of the button, dude.
Yeah,
just let go of it.
So bad, dude. So bad. But yeah, we can do that too.
I like that. I wouldn't mind even. I wouldn't mind doing that. We can go a step further. We could go coach likeness because we saw Ryan Day 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We can see how Ryan Day and Dabo Sweeney line up.
Yeah. Whew. All right. Okay. So next week you want to do? We'll have our projected like every Ohio State guy over 90s. We think. Does that sound good?
With it? Yeah.
And then we'll have our list of quarterbacks running and then we'll have our Big Ten wins and we'll get through what we can get through and figure it out.
I'm with it.
Yeah. I'm gonna put together a list of like the top 10 guys I think should be rated high, like in the overall college game.
Okay. I'm with that. I'm definitely with that. Okay. All right. Cool. But again, hey, for the Ohio State of Mind podcast, as always, I'm Chris. You can find me at CBRNY15 on X. Josh?
Yeah, man. Follow me on X at Josh Keatley16. Go check out last week's episode of All Eyes on Cleveland with my boy Brad Ward on the OBR network. It was last Thursday. He's on this Thursday as well. Check him out if you're a Browns fan. But it was a good episode. We got to talk about some Quinshon, some Browns expectations, and I got in a fight with about 45 people in the chat over Shedeur Sanders. So super. And I love Shedeur. That's the funny part too. Like I'm having this, and I like Shedeur, dude. You remember when he got drafted? You were kind of making fun of me or whatever because I love Shedeur. These people, you would have thought when I said he clearly has some attitude problems, you would have thought that I said that the dude needs to be crucified, bro. Like it was the backlash that I received from saying, well, he clearly has some issues. Well, no, he doesn't. He just dropped 5 rounds for no fucking reason. It was crazy, man.
I can believe that. I can wholeheartedly believe that. But this has been the Ohio State of Mind podcast. We will see you again next week, Thursday, 5 p.m. Y'all take care of yourselves. And of course, as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.